Meeting the order. Approve the minutes from June 12th and June 29th. Everybody see them?
Yeah.
What is your pleasure?
Right.
I have to make a motion that we accept them.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Rick, you need to accept?
I have no adjustments.
Here, citizens. Carl?
Yeah, this morning we went shopping in Claremont. Of course, took the long way around. And while you're down to the school, I noticed the light in front for the speed limit sign was flashing. So, okay, somebody forgot to turn the timer off or whatever. But on the way back, the light coming the other way was not flashing. But then in my mirror, I saw the one going west was still flashing. So one of them's burnt out, the western one. And also, I wonder if you come up from Depot Street onto the 131, you don't have any idea that there's a school zone or anything. There's no flashing light coming in that direction. So that brings up the question in my mind, basically. A while back, I heard something about a flashing pedestrian crossing sign that was going to be put in there. Anybody remember hearing about that?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah, we decided to do that. They had to shrink down the lane so much, and the plowing in the winter was going to be problematic. So they sort of opted not to because it was going to cause other problems. So as I recall, we sort of just looked at it and said that.
Okay, well, I've read about it in the news or somewhere so that it was going to be done, or maybe heard about it at a meeting. So,
And as you come out on Depot Street, of course, you have a stop sign. So
Yeah, you
you
have to
can't get
you have to
much up
get
the
right on it.
speed by your time you go by. So that's why we didn't put one there.
Okay, well, that was my observation, my comment.
Any other here, citizens? If not, we'll go on to flood update.
Flood update. I just want to say, we keep getting asked if which roads in town are open. And I'd hate to say any real town road is completely open at the moment. They've all sustained a lot of damage. Some not nearly as bad as others. Most, I'd say now, every one of them is, almost every one of them is passable, other than, Cavendish Golf probably, and Brook Road, and a few of the really, really major hit ones. And you never know, it's changing so often that if we get a phone call asking if it's open, somebody drove down it 10 minutes ago, somebody else, the road crew could be there and working, and it's closed. I just wanted to give a little kind of an update on how we were trying to go about fixing these roads as well. We ended up with 4 work crews here. Gurney Brothers is over on Brook Road, and Stearns was started out on Heald Road and Meadowbrook Farm Road. Really, the reason we did that is able to get to the pits. The roads are all closed everywhere, and we could get Stearns to Gilchrist Pit, and the Crown Point, who was up at Knapp Pond, and Gurney Brothers could go to Sosimo's or their pit in Springfield. So we kind of tried to hitting it from both directions. And once we get those main back roads opened up, it'll open up a lot more of the other damaged roads that we can really get vehicles to, and start fixing them. We've had a lot of in-town people offering help, which is great. There's a lot of equipment here. We did stumble a little bit with trucks, so we couldn't use everybody as much as we would have liked to. So I just ask that everybody still has patience. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done out there. The state has been in taking pictures the last couple days, Friday and today. And we're just going to continue on. There might be a few roads that are going to take a long time, to fix, but I don't believe there's anybody that's unaccessible or accessible right now. I think everybody can get out in or out one direction or the other than driveways. There's, the road itself is, able to drive. I know, and so I don't know if Chief Glidden wanted to mention anything, but I think it worked pretty well with the emergency coordinator, and we coordinated pretty well, worked together really well. The shelters were open, and the communication was pretty good. And the fire departments, I mean, they visited everybody in town within a couple days. I mean, knocking on everybody's door. It's pretty impressive on how they came together and were able to to do that, and everybody checking on their neighbors. I know a lot of people have questions as well about who to call. We're still being told that you dial the 211 to report damages. It's also Vermont211.org if you can get on their website. I know people have had trouble with that, but I imagine they overwhelmed with calls as well. And there is, Margot had put together a little bit of thing from the shelter as well, from the Cavendish shelter and other things throughout town. If somebody wanted, to grab one of these here. I can answer any question. I don't know, there's a lot of information that we could go on forever, I feel like, talking about this. We kind of all know which roads are open at the moment, or which roads are passable. But
Can you give us an update on the state roads?
I haven't heard much about the state roads currently on 131 or anything. I really haven't heard much from them on what their plan is, if they're coming in to re-engineer everything or if they're going to rebuild the way it is. I'm not sure. I know I just got today their bridge inspection reports, but that's as far as I'm gone on theirs.
So I didn't quite, I know that in last year, we were really looking at replacing the Meadowbrook Bridge. Did that go, and there was just culverts, did that totally go out? Or, because I saw them
Both of
working
them on Meadowbrook,
Yeah.
both of them went out this time. Yep, not just the furthest one. They both did. Luckily, we were able to, we put culvert back in order to get the people in and out. That was the one spot that was just completely cut off from anything, and a lot of the spots that were completely cut off were pretty far out of town. So
Rick, can we, in the time that I lived here, we talked about this, there's recurring issues in the same spots. And, it appears to me that we basically rebuild sort of, for the most part, the way they were. And I'm just wondering, could you, through sort of historical records, could you help us identify which are those perpetual problems? And then maybe we can come up with some new solutions, because this probably won't be the last time that we have flooding like this.
right, and I believe now is the absolute best time to have that conversation with the state to be able to move forward on doing something with the rivers. And I know they usually don't like you to touch them. I believe that was kind of the case in Irene. At first they were saying you could do what you needed to do, and then it was hold back on the rivers. I think now we kind of opened up that conversation, not officially with them, because everybody they're busy
Right.
as well, but yeah, I think it's time to have real conversations on what we can do and have a really large study done, to help stop this from occurring in the future.
And I have a question for George, would ARPA funds be available to help us with any of these long-term improvements?
I suppose I have to look a little closer to how, because we chose to set up a committee and we chose to, an application process
Right.
and stuff. So I would,
Been related?
pardon?
Are ARPA funds COVID related?
Yes.
They
I
are.
don't see how they could be used.
I know. Well, they're set for community. There's community benefit. And so what how that umbrella, how far that goes out, I'm not sure. That's why I said I would have to check. I don't think we can just say, oh yeah, throw it over here, throw it there. But
Right, I understand.
but
I was just wondering if there's any-
that would have to be
The
researched.
cost is to redo this, so this doesn't happen again. Our mega, we're talking way more. than
Yeah, way more
else.
than that, right?
And the fact of the matter is, what would be really useful, both from COVID perspective and from the flood perspective, is if we have the equipment here to regularly do Zoom. I've been to other towns and I watch how they operate and the equipment they have, not that expensive, but that's gonna really help. If you can Zoom, it doesn't matter if you're flooded out, as long as you have electricity and you have internet access, you can participate, you can explain, you can be part of the process. And right now, there are people that really wanted to be here tonight, but there's no Zoom option. So we need to step up our game, basically, and ARPA funds can help us do it.
That's good.
But again, we need to have some sort of, it's set up to have some sort of application so we have a sense of what that entails rather than just saying, oh yeah, let's throw some there.
Any other comments on the flood? That ARPA fund,
Yeah,
we're
that's
getting off this subject.
I wanted to
here.
ask about FEMA. How's that been going? We're already in touch or something? Just documenting or?
We're right now. We're just documenting everything and a lot of pictures. I'm going to try to set something. There's a lot of people that have pictures. Cell phones are, they're great. Everybody has pictures of places that we couldn't get to before they were fixed. So I'm going to try to work on something that we can have people submit photos as well. The good thing about that is if you do it with from a cell phone, it comes with GPS coordinates, which they want as well. So,
George?
Now, you need to wait to be recognized because we cannot just start talking on our own. Nothing gets done. Bob?
Yeah, as emergency director, I just wanted to say that I need to give a thanks to Rick and the ladies in the town office and the highway crew. The communication was awesome. Anything I needed for support, they were right there and they gave it to me. So I really appreciate that. That helped a lot. I had a lot of things to deal with as far as emergency director and being on the fire department and responding to emergencies. So that was a huge help. The shelter is awesome. As soon as we got that thing opened, it's like they just took care of everything. And it's unfortunate, but we all know what we're doing. We've done this before. But it really showed this time around, I think, on all aspects, in my personal opinion. I think we're kind of, unfortunately, getting good at it. And just to reiterate what you were talking about, George, with Meadowbrook Campground, for Proctorsville Fire Department, that was our most challenging place to get to. It was also, being our most challenging, it also had the most amount of people that needed the medication, had no food because they were trapped over there. And our only option to get to them, safety-wise, was to actually go into Ludlow on our UTV and ATVs and go down the snowmobile trail that brought us right to the campground. We actually had to throw waters over the culvert that was washed out Monday.
Wow.
Because we safely couldn't cross it to them. So it was a communication thing. We'll be back tomorrow and we'll cross this brook. And that's what we did. They had to have medications. They had to have food. They didn't have any of it. That is our most biggest challenge for us on the Proctorsville side, is getting to that campground. That stream is so small and it just gets so overloaded with the runoff. It takes that culvert so fast, that little one.
Get those bridges.
And then the big one went too. And once that big one went, then we can't get up there. We have to go all the way around, come down the snowmobile trail. Luckily, we knew where that trail would take us, or else we'd have been trying to figure that out. So,
Great.
but really, it's just my hat is off to everybody in town. I think it was incredible what we were able to do in such a short time with the level of instruction.
Absolutely.
Any other?
To the FEMA question, I want to ditto what Bob said. So just ditto there. But I do want to say that it's really different. And I spent a lot of time after Irene, not just when the shelter closed, but for months. And that's exactly where we are now. The same places that were hit hard again. And FEMA is not going to help those individuals. And that's already seeing the denials. They don't have flood insurance. Now, incredible stuff is happening. Driveways are being repaired, whatever. Many people are on tractors. They're using fill. They're doing whatever. We try to get as many work crews out as they came in. We got them out again. But this is going to be a much, much more challenging, much more difficult for the homeowner and the property owner. Very different than Irene, very different. And FEMA is really clear. If we gave you money last time and you didn't do what we tell you, you're not getting a dime. We have social workers, even a psychiatrist as part of our team. We know how to do this. We're doing it well. We've had to we have social workers working with 2 or 3 people right now. I think we will lose residents, and our biggest issue has been renters that have not, landlords that haven't responded appropriately to property issues. We have one case where they just are not showing up, and it's been tough, but we're dealing with it. But this is the 4th time the shelter's been open since December. And some real changes have to be thought about. One of those is creating far posts where we put excess that we have for water, all of those things. We have families that are willing to do it so that if we do get cut off, people can go get help for water supply. Why they all want water and toilet paper first out of the box, right? I don't understand that. We had a lot more medical issues this time, way more than we had with Irene. And I posted that all there. I think one of the biggest requests we have are for dehumidifiers. We have gotten so many in, they go out as fast as they come in. We have 11 coming in the next 2 days. Rick has tried to get us, I think you ordered 70, you tried to get 75.
From the Air National Guard, we tried for 75. That's on our list. But I have not heard if we're getting those.
And we are getting donations, because of the way we're using social media, we're getting donations from all over, which is great. We will have the money we're getting in at the shelter, as well as another fund that the Goodmans have. We are working together to figure out exactly how that will be distributed. Thank God Diane gave us the 911 listing. That's really helped greatly. We have individual people's delivering the food, walking, talking to everybody. So it's a very different response than last time from our end, very different. Before everybody came to the shelter and whatever, this time they want the food delivered to them. We are taking care of the work crews. We're doing a lot of that type of thing. This isn't going to end anytime soon, and we're going to need a lot more people willing to come in and do things because families don't have insurance, don't have the kind of resources to put things back together. It's just that simple.
Anything else under the flood? Rick?
I just would like to mention that there is dumpsters on Depot Street. If people aren't aware, the transfer station filled up very quickly, and access to change those out isn't as fast as the ones that are on Depot Street. So there is a couple there, and I also want to mention that we had talked. Bob and I had talked already about sitting down sometime this week or, sometime soon and going over what worked, what didn't, how it, and so we can, if there's anything we can improve on, we'll do it for the next time. So
All right, that is it. We'll move on to Select Board to set tax rate for 2023-24 year. It's all yours, Diane?
Well, you have the tax rate calculation sheets in front of you, which show the bottom line. There's two tables. It's divided between homestead and non-homestead rates. You can see at the top here. And then at the bottom, we have Fire District 1 and Fire District 2. So we have 4 tax rates because we have Fire District 1, homestead and non-homestead, and Fire District 2, homestead and non-homestead. So the calculations for the homestead rate in Fire District 1 is 2.4572, and that's per $100 of property valuation. So if you have $100,000 value, you're taxed $1,000 at 2.4572. For Fire District 1 for non-homestead rate, it's 2.5154 per $100 of valuation. For Fire District 2, homestead is 2.3814, and non-homestead is 2.4396.
So much.
Yeah, I thought that would save you some money.
Yes.
So, that's the rates.
What is your,
I was just curious on the the fire districts. I noticed that was the budget. Well, of course, the budgets went up, but on Fire District 1, it seemed like the
The
rate
fire district
jumped a lot.
budget went up, because there are 9 years worth of annual payments for new fire trucks.
6 years?
6 years.
That's for the new truck.
At
that's coming.
Oh,
That's right.
153,000.
Right.
156. That goes each year. They're gonna put that in there for the fire truck loan.
Yes.
So that did go up from last year for that reason.
That's the only reason that's up.
Yeah.
it didn't look like the
No,
budget
that's
went
up.
up too much. So.
No, that's because of the truck.
And that's 6 years.
6 years, yeah. What they did, they took out a government lease. It was, the interest rate's a lot cheaper than it was going to a bank.
All right.
And the bank wouldn't talk to us until we received the truck, which that's way too late.
The overall, it's 25 cents per $100 of valuation
Right.
and 35 cents between the municipal, the education rates, and the fire districts. That's what we're up. 25 to 35 cents per $100,000 of valuation. Not a great time to be sending out tax bills, but this must go on.
Right,
Must
gotta
on.
go.
We wanna fix our roads.
I also just curious thinking that, wow, there's a lot of, I mean, I know there was some adjustments in grand list valuation, but there are a lot of properties being added and places going up, but yet the
Our grand list went down.
went down.
Yeah, well, I was saying earlier before the meeting started, we have, well, for one thing, houses are selling for double, but we're not raising the values. They're at the 2019 levels, so.
Right.
And there's construction going on, but it's not 100% complete, so you get 30% done, 60% done. But we have the utilities. We have Vermont Electric Company, Ludlow Electric. I can't off the top of my head think, I know there's a couple more. And their values vary wildly. And, I can't dispute those. They say if you don't want to accept this, you can send us a letter, but
Yeah.
there's nobody here who has any experience to say, well, we don't think you're right.
Yeah.
And it depends on the depreciation of their line. So sometimes those will go down by $1 million. Their personal their
Yeah,
equipment inventory
right, and all that. Yeah.
and their lines and everything.
I have a question.
Right, Steve?
One of the things I've wondered about, if somebody has a house and they just have Tyvek, is that considered a complete house, or is it?
It depends if they're living in it and how long they've been living in it. I mean, yes, it's still incomplete.
So they get
There's some
taxed at a
exterior.
lower rate?
I really can't answer it. I don't do
Oh,
assessments, but
okay.
from what I've picked up from Al, if they have exterior features that are not completed, then he will do a percentage of functional depreciation or something for that.
Yeah.
But if you're not finished inside, but you've been living there for 10 years, we actually just recently raised those to, it's 100% done.
Okay.
If you don't wanna finish your kitchen, that's floorboards, that's fine, but if you live in there, it's done.
Yeah, because it used to be, I know that like April Hensel's old place, there used to be just tar paper on the outside, which they admittedly did because it kept their tax rate down, you know, so. So
I'm not
that's
sure
good that
about
finally
exterior
that's, yeah, finally, you know, they can't get away with that because it's not right.
Right.
Okay, what is your pleasure on the tax rate?
Lower it, no.
Can't.
Well, let's see, what is it? I guess I'll move that we approve the total tax rate for District 1 homestead at 2.4572 and non-homestead at 2.5154. And the total tax rate for properties in Fire District 2 at 2.3814 and non-homestead 2.4396. And
I'll second that.
anything else? I guess that's those in a total.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
All right,
opposed? None?
send the bill.
Just one other thing, we were
We have to
supposed to be
sign how many
closed
copies?
last week.
3.
to Print and mail tax bill one day. And so we said this week, maybe by the end of the week, we don't know. But it'll be due 30 days from whatever the tax bill is dated. It won't be due August 15th,
Oh, okay.
so. I don't see it happening this week. The phones are still ringing
Pretty busy.
with questions and needs, so a priority was not the highest ones. Oh, yeah, 3 copies signed.
Guess it
Okay,
wasn't
great.
that.
I'm glad you guys know the drill.
Thank you. All right, while those are going around, we'll go to lead service line inventory.
The state of Vermont, in their water, they have,
Oh, that's a lot.
they've changed the lead and copper rule for everybody. And it's pretty much no lead is allowed in any water service anymore. There's such a thing as a lead gooseneck, which is basically where you go from the water main to the service line. Just they've been there forever. It's not that everybody has one, which is great. We have to come up with a plan to identify where they are, whether that's physically digging them up, looking at the pipes to see if they're lead, or a lot of times if you have new pipes in town, you know they're not lead. Luckily, with a town our size, this is a complete free, and the state will be sending in contractors to take care of this for us. They'll come up with a plan, and we'll be able to do that. So,
Oh, that's good. Is there
Just-
a deadline or anything as far as when that has to be done by? or-
there it is. They should all be identified by, I believe, the end of this year and replaced shortly thereafter. Before this happened, they were looking at August to start bringing in people, but I'm not sure it's gonna happen
Yeah, they just.
right now.
So that's for residential. Are there any public buildings affected?
Every service in town would have to be checked, so,
And how do they, so it's only by digging it up, you can't really scope or something to.
there
find
is
out?
ways to scope, and if a contractor wants to do that, they can. I doubt they will do that. I mean, if you dig up the line and you see that it's copper, you know that it doesn't have any lead to it. We did run into, I do know that Cavendish ran into a few on 20 Mile Stream within the last couple of years that did have lead goosenecks on them. So when you have areas like that, you can almost guarantee there's a few more going up through there.
Okay, we'll go to LED streetlights.
I believe this project was in the works beforehand. I got contacted by Brett Sanderson and Efficiency Vermont that says your incentive is about ready to run out on July 1st. You sign up for it. So we did. We signed up for it. It does have the new LED lights. Will have about. It's a little different than on this sheet. It's going to be more like 2.5 to 3 year payoff. But when you get the $2,400 to put these in from Efficiency Vermont, and then the installation will all be done through the quote I have here on Ludlow Electric.
Yeah, it's
So-
all Ludlow Electric.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
We did it in the Cavendish side.
Yeah.
Good.
Good question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on the street lighting, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think originally the street lighting in Fire District Number 1 was owned by the fire district or paid for the fire district? Is
It's
that-
always been Ludlow. It was always under Ludlow Electric.
Yeah, but who paid for the, who paid for
Back
the
back then,
there was a village
The village
incorporated?
did,
Well, that's what I'm saying, that's what I'm
but
saying.
they never owned them.
Well, they didn't own them, but they were paying for it and they turned it over to the town. to be
Right, just
paid
like
for.
we're doing now.
Yeah, okay, disincorporated as a village. so-
But my question is, I had asked the select board some time ago if there was a criteria for where streetlights should be located in town. There may be some that are not needed and may need them somewhere else. And I never got an answer back on that. So while you're doing all this, you might want to take a look to see. They were originally, I guess, for firefighting purposes, which you have lights in your trucks now, so you don't really need them for that purpose, but yeah, you know what I mean?
Most of them were, the 100 watt or something, but then
Yeah.
a couple were the stronger ones, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
my question is, where should they be in town? Do we have more than we need, or do we not have enough, or are they in the wrong place? That's my question.
All right. We go to Municipal Energy Resilience Program Grant.
This is a 3-part grant that the Energy Committee is looking into. 3-stage process. It starts out with a $4,000 mini grant. Then you have free energy resilience studies for identified town buildings. And then, of course, the implementation grant one with what they find. I do know this building here had the study done, but it's too old to be used for this grant. There's been talk about the maybe battery backup. There's no generator here and stuff like that. The building would need to be ADA compliant in order to use this grant, and that $4,000 mini grant you can do a study on making this building ADA compliant with that 4,000, and there is no match for the town on this grant at all.
I think the only thing we really needed to do was to open up the bathroom to 3-foot entrance.
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
Something
And the
like that.
door.
And the door here, and so the Energy Committee is looking for the select board's approval to move ahead with this and apply for this grant.
It's your pleasure. I'll move that, we give the okay for them to move ahead with this grant application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. School board appointment recommendation. Okay, go ahead, Sandra.
I just wanted to make a statement. Currently, we have 2 people that are requested to be appointed to the vacant Cavendish School Board seat. I have to say, I always appreciate people who want to volunteer their time for such an important position. I must say, I've never met either of the applicants until 5 minutes ago when I met Megan, who's sitting right here. So you could probably, add on to what I put here. Our district is, and will be facing several challenges: mental health, bullying, possibly a pre-K, PCB, Act 127, which we heard about at the last meeting, school staffing, curriculum initiatives, and building restructuring. This endorsement is not meant to be against someone, but for a candidate I personally feel has the credentials and experience that would not only benefit Cavendish, but bring an extra level of educational-based experience to the school board and thus the district. I am requesting that the select board, along with input from existing Cavendish school board members, Steve Pirani and Kate Lamphere, put forth only one candidate for approval by the school board, and that candidate is Lisa Sanders. I don't know if you could do that. I'm just suggesting that, and I'll tell you why when I finish this. Lisa Sanders, she's got a PhD, a professor of University of Massachusetts. She has a graduate training focused on child brain development. She's an associate chair for research, Department of Psychology and Brain Science. She has research areas in speech perception and the development of selective attention. And independently and with a team, have published numerous articles focused on the speech processing for 3 to 5 years old, and with research looking at people from 20 to 85 years old. I kind of think this kind of experience, I think, could be very helpful to the school board. With Megan, and she's here, I found this on Google, and I'm sure if you Google me, I wouldn't find a lot of stuff. So I didn't find a lot from you, Megan, other than what you said at the meeting that you were, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, previously worked as a social worker, which is wonderful. But I think at this point you said you were stepping back from this work, but there's nothing wrong with that. Both candidates have children at CDES, are active members of the school, and they also plan to run for the position in the November election. I just want to go back to the point I made about only one candidate, which I know is probably not allowed. But when I went to the school board meeting last month, both women were there with their credentials. And I was just surprised, and this is nothing against you. I mean, I've heard wonderful things about you, that 5 people on the board, and people could vote however they want, I know that, did not vote for Lisa. And so it was a tie, so they couldn't move ahead. So I don't know what prompted that. Like I said, people could vote whoever they want. But my personal opinion, I'm just going to say it here, that based on her background for what we need for a school board going forward, I just feel she's the best candidate we could put forth for the school board to vote on. And please, you pipe up. I mean, I have nothing against you at all. It's just who I felt personally had the better qualifications. Just like if you go for a job, if you're interviewing people, you could have 5 candidates, but one just stands out a little more. So, but thank you for your applicants. Why don't you just speak up too?
Any other comments?
I mean, yeah, I can give a little bit more background about myself. I purposely stay off of Google. I don't like to be on there. I was in child protection and as a social worker in different areas, and so I tend to not want to be on that radar when I'm working with clients in that field. I have stepped back from that to focus more on my kiddos. But yeah, I think I can't compete with the research, sort of like some of those pieces. My wheelhouse is mental health, the impact of trauma on brain development, and special education. I haven't worked in the schools as a special educator. I've worked very, very closely with special education teams, specifically the Wilder School, where many of my clients were placed. And yeah, as the social worker, it's really the socio-behavioral piece of it. I've worked with schools on behavioral plans, safety plans. I've been part of the IEP meetings. I've been part of the school meetings. And I think one of the things that I can bring to the table is just I have a macro view of, I've seen the system at play. I've seen the families caught in the system. I've seen the impact to the children. I've seen the impact of the teachers. I've seen administrations. I've worked with special educators. I've been in their sessions. I've seen sort of the resource pieces of it. And I've just sort of seen this whole perspective of sitting on the outside of the system, looking in of all the difficulties and how they intersect at different areas. So whether it's resources, difficulty hiring staff, the difficulty of the behavior levels that teachers are facing. My clients have been the ones assaulting the teachers. Like, we are the people that were called in to help those educators get those kids to a safer place and then pull them out of the school so they can reset and come back in. So that's my experience, is sort of that piece of it.
I appreciate you so much saying that. And when at the meeting last week, a lot of that didn't come out. So my judgment was based on what maybe didn't hear. So you really do have a very nice, impressive brain, and I appreciate you saying that. So I guess whatever happens at the meeting happens. So I thank you for applying for it.
We need to make a recommendation and it's up to the school.
Lisa could not make it tonight. She did send this to us for me to read. So I feel like, I'll read this real quick.
Okay.
And you're absolutely correct. The select board, cannot appoint somebody. But they can make a recommendation. So this is what Lisa had sent today because she was not able to attend tonight. Dear Cavendish Select Board, I am seeking your recommendation to be the third Cavendish resident on the Green Mountain Union School District Board. I wish I could be there in person this evening, but I am traveling. Mostly, I just hope the flooding has given everyone enough of a break that it makes sense to meet tonight. I'm asking for your recommendations so that I can join Kate and Steve in working for public school opportunities that are welcomed by all Cavendish families. I don't think we have that right now. I understand change will take work, time, and patience. I think I can contribute to that work. There are 4 main reasons that I think I am the right person for this appointment. Number 1, I believe access to quality public education is vital to our community. My mom was a public school teacher for over 30 years. She shared with us her commitment to that public education, and making sure that public education should be so good for everyone that even families who have other options would choose it. My PhD in psychology with a certificate in neuroscience means I have significant training in child brain development and language processing. My current research involves active collaborations and ongoing education and developmental sciences, linguistics, cognitive psychology, and education. Making group decisions is hard and requires compassion, communication, and time. As part of a decision-making team in my department at UMass, I've had training in intergroup dialogue, keeping difficult conversations respectful, and taking differences in power and privilege into account making decisions. And number 4 is Cavendish is my chosen community. I feel so grateful to be here, to raise my kiddos here, to garden here, whether it is turkey bingo, baseball, the school carnival, or being on the board. I want to contribute what I can because this community is worth it.
What is the board?
I was, there's some, let Steve talk first.
Right, Steve?
I hope you've read the letter that I sent to the members of the written forward the letters of select board. I'm not going to repeat it now. I wish I wish you had been as dynamic as you just were in the meeting where we were reviewing candidates. There's a lot. I appreciate your passion. It's not an easy job. That having been said, we have a wonderful organization in Cavendish that's just come into existence. The newly formed Cavendish PTG group has about 60 members, and it was formed after the superintendent started improvising restructuring concepts for the elementary school. It moved from being a group that and it's still a group that interfaces with teachers and creates events and stuff for the kids, but it also now is advocating for civic engagement, involvement in the planning, the real scrutiny for the restructuring options. To make a long story short, there's 60 members of this group. This group has endorsed Lisa Sanders. Dennis Riley, who is the outgoing member, endorses her. The current 2 school board reps endorse Lisa. And there are other members of the community that you've just heard who endorse Sandra. I don't take this lightly, and we have a lot of work to do. It's a very difficult board to maneuver, as you've seen from the videos or attendance at the Cavendish School. We need all the help we can get. And I'd like you to consider Lisa Sanders.
Any other comments? Sure.
So I'm Adam Waddell. Anybody doesn't know me. Lived in town here probably 35 years. Originally, when there was 2 openings on the board, me and Megan were both going to put our names forward. She is my partner. So I think talking through with the board, I don't know if there was a precedent for 2 people living within the same household to both be on the board. But to go over some of my qualifications, same wheelhouse as her with child protection, and I am the truancy officer for Chester Andover, and do a lot of work with Green Mountain Union High School as the detective for the Chester Police Department. So with that in mind, and both of our backgrounds, talking amongst ourselves, we both thought that with her background, qualifications, and ability, that she would be the better choice to put forward for the now 1 slot. So she's my choice.
I was wondering about this November election. Is that correct?
No, it'll be town meeting in March.
Right, I thought.
March of 2024. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Margaret, do you have a
Yeah, I was just
comment?
gonna say really quickly, I am just blown away that there are not 2, but potentially 3 people that want to
Exactly.
run for the school board, and I don't think ever in my wildest dreams would I have seen that, and I'm thrilled. And I've certainly known Adam since he was a very little guy, because he and my son were friends. I have worked with Lisa she has been in and out of the shelter. Her work with the kids has been beyond phenomenal. She's been there for us in every single possible way you could ask for. But more importantly than their educational experience, there's a whole lot of politics involved here. And Lisa understands how to work that. You don't work at the level she does in a college and not be incredibly political savvy about how you work and deal, and that we've got to have that. So I would say, let's give that nod to Lisa. Please vote on it. And then in March, it's an all new ballgame, and that's great. And I think it's beyond wonderful that, particularly Adam, who grew up here, is interested in doing that. And I say hats off to everybody. But for this round, let's go with Lisa. She may be able to bring a little bit of sanity to what has been pretty chaotic on that board at times.
What is your conclusions from the board?
I'll make a motion that we put forth Lisa Sanders' name to be the recommendation of the board now.
I will second that.
And the only thing else I'd say is, I welcome running. I think that's definitely, a good thing. And come March, then
Right, it's good.
then it's a thing. But for now, yeah.
All in favor of Lisa?
Aye.
Opposed? None? We'll make that recommendation and whatever that school board does, is what the school board does.
Who knows?
Who knows? I have watched some of theirs, and the board's a mess, to be polite about it.
Now, Steve, you may know this, I didn't see that the appointment was gonna be on the agenda for the retreat this coming weekend, but I was told that it may be. That's kind of why we, wanted to make sure we had this meeting in. Is that something that you were? Oh, is it?
Yes, the retreat is
The
canceled.
retreat, yeah, the retreat has been canceled. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be taking.
So this
something off.
this wouldn't. Yeah, they won't even vote till August. Then. Okay.
All right.
I'll send out that email.
And old business, tree removal at the church.
Yep, it's kind of a placeholder, because we had pretty lengthy discussions on this. It seems like for many years in the past. I was supposed to get 2 new quotes last week. They obviously got canceled. And I've reached out a couple times to the budding landowner, and I have not received a phone call back. Per town council, we really need to have something in writing before we do
Right.
any work there. So I'm still working on that as well. So
Okay, good.
Is Mike still coming in August?
Third week in August.
Okay, that's an option.
yeah, it's definitely an option. I hope I can get in touch with the landowner before that. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe some.
Well, I wondered if maybe when she got a phone call about that tree from me, she didn't know what to think, so she wasn't going to return the call. But I tried to reiterate it was not bad news. So, but
Who knows what's going on? Maybe you should tell her that her house flooded and she'll respond.
right. Well, I figured maybe she'd actually be here, but I wasn't sure. But or not physically here right now, but to come check on things, I wasn't sure.
All right. Town manager's report.
Well, I had a report and then I didn't have a report because it was going to be all about flood, but we have talked about that. I do want to say there's a couple things coming up. Our state stormwater permit for the Proctorsville Green expired. There is no way. I tried to talk to the state to see if we could, have that extended, because it was right in the time where we're in transition and there was no manager at the time, but it is a big no. So we'll be hiring an engineer to put together a new permit for that. And I also want to say that starting tomorrow morning, we did find a person to fill the open position for the highway department. So,
Thank God. Good.
Oh, good. Can you tell us who it is?
Alex.
yep, Alex Turkle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so say hi to him. And the only other thing I wanted to say is, this is the toughest part of this whole flood recovery. The adrenaline's kind of wearing off, and just have patience with everybody that's working out there, because it's difficult for all, and it's going to take a lot of patience on all of our part to navigate the next few weeks. So
Couple months.
yeah, next, yeah. I was being a little optimistic there.
All right. Steve, you have anything?
I don't.
George?
The only thing I wanted to ask about the road behind Murdoch's. It's not a town road. Are
Right.
we going to fix that? And if we do, we really ought to.
That was, I looked into that a little bit at the start after the last meeting, because that's when I first heard about it. I haven't gotten very far on that. I do know that is It's a little bit of a weird situation because that's where our storm drain permit is for as well. So not being a town road, but it's our town stormwater permit and
Yeah.
town property. So yeah, we'll
Try to move forward on.
we'll move forward on that.
All right,
Okay.
that's it?
Bob, anything?
No, I'm good. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. A second, anybody?
Yeah, I'll second
All in favor?